Welcome back. I hope this camera is a bit okay. Yeah, sorry for that. Okay, this video is about Neptune and about pedophilia. Now, why on earth do I choose this subject? Well, I was talking about the fact that I was going to take extremes, and surely this is an extreme of the negative side. I think, in my opinion, it has to do with Neptune, and I will explain later on. So let's have a look. And first of all, of my intention. What is my intention? My intention is not to judge. I would love to, but I'm not going to do that because it's not going to help me or you. This is not my point. My point in this video, I've got 2 points. One is to make sure that you know more about Neptune and that you understand more about that planet, that you understand more about astrology. And on the other hand, to have a bigger awareness about the subject, pedophilia, as well. Not in a way of making people afraid, on the contrary, in a way that hopefully opens a little bit more awareness and more knowledge about what this is exactly. And I will take examples. So I'm not familiar myself with it, but I do know people who have encountered this in their lives, sadly enough. And I'm going to talk about one particular case. So I did study a few cases of clients and also a bit on the internet. But of course, it's nothing. It's not a real study, of course. So it's only my point of view that I want to share in a most objective way. But of course, that we can never be objective 100%. But that's why I'm going to try not to judge, and we'll see how good I am at that or not. So first of all, that is my intention. Want to explain, want to give a bit of awareness and of both, of astrology and also of the subject. First of all, I don't have to explain pedophilia. I think it's about mostly men that are attracted sexually to children, to young children. And of course there's a difference between the age. I'm not talking about kids who are 16 years old. I'm talking about the kids between the age of 6 until 13, 14 years old, because that is mostly, for most pedophilias, most pedophiles, the most interesting period of time, because there's this innocence of the child, and there is this this time just before puberty that is interesting for these people. Now, what else? Is it mostly happening with girls or with boys? Well, if I read the studies and the statistics, which I, as Churchill said, I guess, was it Churchill who said, never trust statistics? But if you read the statistics, it's more boys actually, that pedophiles have a preference for boys. So, another thing is that we have to distinguish 2 things. First of all, we have to distinguish people who have had such an experience only once in their life, or just it happened once, and thanks to a good mom or a good teacher or a good friend, they have been able to prevent the continuation of it. So that's one kind of people who are victims, you could say. And that is already in itself very, very sad and very terrible, but I was not going to judge. I'm not talking about that. I'm going to talk about a case, and I think that there are many of them, cases about experiencing this as from the age of 6, 7 until adulthood. So these are of course people who had these experiences over and over again, and this changes the whole situation. this is then this is becoming more than just a sexual thing. This is then we're talking about a relationship, actually, like what is it called, the Stockholm syndrome. There's also with hostages, and they, you know, when the time is a bit longer than a day, then they get a relationship with that person and so on. So it's definitely more going on with this child than just a sexual abuse, you could say. So why do I talk about this with Neptune? Because it surely shows that this is a crossing over of borders, that it surely shows that a person who is completely crossing the borders of a child in this case, and who cannot restrict themselves. You know, they let themselves go, and everybody knows it's not a good thing, but they do it anyway, notwithstanding their intelligence or whatever. So the other thing that is very Neptune-like is that I took a look at the horoscopes of these people. I took a look at the horoscopes of people that were the victims and of the pedophiles. And the thing that I see is what I want to share. The thing that I see, my conclusion, I will give in a minute. But let's start with, so I'm just checking my notes. Yes, why is it Neptune-like? Because the person who does this is apparently, in my little study, is very Neptune-like. Why? Because, and now I'm going to talk about not my own experience, but experience about someone I know, someone who's in the heart. And I also know someone who is a pedophile. Well, thank God, I know him from a distance. But so who is this kind of person? And that is something I really want to show to people, or to share to people, that these aren't the most ugly people. These are people who could really go for an Oscar, you know, at the cinema, because they know exactly how to deceive you. They know exactly what you want to hear. They know exactly what your needs are, and they adjust to it. And that is so Neptune-like. You know, Neptune is also, you know, you're connected with film industry, you know, with acting. And that's in itself not a bad thing, acting. But they know exactly what the public wants, and they adjust to it. And so also in this particular case, this man is a very handsome man. I don't think he's handsome, but I have strange taste, people say. But normally, objectively, other people think he's great. And other people just see this intelligent man, this good-looking man, very nice clothes, very expensive clothes, even nice shiny shoes. This man is socially so respected in life. He has a huge business. He's a businessman. He's a pro. He's a professional. He is smart. He's intelligent. He is enormously charming. And you have to be enormously charming, don't you, if you are going to deceive not only this little boy, but also the whole family, the whole entourage of this kid. Because if you do this not only once, and if you're doing this years and years and years, you've got to be a good deceiver and almost a devil in disguise to be able to get up with this, or to get this going. It also says something, and I'm referring to women that don't see it, or even worse, that this is happening and I kind of see it, but I kind of, you know, for some reason, crazy enough, there are reasons, you know, reasons of selfishness, or whatever. There are reasons that other people just close their eyes, but they do. So this is just the kind of, I hope you're not going to be you know, if someone is going to stay with your kid because you go away and you are asking for a babysit, you're not going to be very suspicious. No, I just want you to open your eyes and just see a bit further with what you see directly in front of you, or try to be open and wise, that not everything is what it likes, like with that ceci n'est pas un vice, that example. So if we look at the chart, what do we see? Well, first of all, you can't see if someone is good or bad in a chart. I certainly can't see that because it's about the soul that we're talking about. So you can only see what are the flavors, what are the colors in this particular chart. Is it going to be easy? Is it going to be challenging? Yes, you can see that. What the person is going to do with it, you can never see. But what you can see is that this is a very Neptune thing. Why? Because if I took a look at this chart, this one chart, and I also have others, but this one particular chart of a pedophile, this man has first of all a whole stellium in Aries. Now, there's absolutely nothing wrong with having a Sun in Aries and a Mercury in Aries and even a Mars in Aries. There's nothing wrong with that. Also having a Venus in Aries. Okay, in its detriment, but no big crime. Now this shows that this is a person who has a strong Aries side, who has a strong side of wants to be recognized. People with Aries emphasis, they need attention. They need they need to be seen. They need to be special for someone, especially the ones that they love. That is a summary of Aries that has to do with this. Now, this whole stellium of Aries, and it's a stellium that is, you know, the planets are very close, those 4 planets are very close to each other, and they are all almost exactly opposing Neptune in Libra. So that's one very important piece of the chart of this man. So what does it show? It shows that this man will encounter Neptune in his life, and it will be a challenge, because we have to face it. If someone has an opposition with Neptune, it's not easy, you know. It's not the at its best it could be someone who's spiritual at its best, but there's a long way to go, you could say. Now, this also shows that this person is going to meet in his life challenges with boundaries of himself, and in this case, obviously, going across boundaries of other people. Now, another thing was that his moon in Leo was in a conjunction with Pluto. Now, I know many people with moon conjunct Pluto in Leo. Even my older sister's got this. She's not, you know, she's lovely, my older sister. But this shows again how this person is seeing the world, and is seeing, first of all, his mum. Having Pluto bang on the moon definitely shows a very dominant mum, and she was dominant. I know her, and she really looked very dominant and very bossy. But again, it's not that you have that in your chart that that person is that way. You know, you can also have things in your chart that it's just the pair of glasses that you're wearing at that moment. It's just the pair of glasses that you're wearing. A chart is coloring, and if you've got moon conjunct Pluto, it's a rather dark pair of glasses and an intense pair of glasses that you see. It's the side that is reflected maybe from your mum when you were younger. So, but that doesn't mean to say that that woman was bad or anything. It's just how you see through your pair of glasses, how you see your mum and how you perceive them. You know, someone, I also have a Plutonic mum, but if you look in her chart, She's got Venus conjunct the midheaven in Taurus. She's lovely. She's beautiful, charming, and all of that. So it's not because we have it in our charts that it is 100% that person. On the contrary, it's just how we see them. So in this chart, it shows that this man had problems with self-esteem. That this man had 0.0001% of self-esteem, probably, okay, by this bossy mom, who he was apparently not good enough for her. And so, of course, if people have very low self-esteem, they can get depressed, or they can make lives of other people enormously bad and horrible, because it's when it's in yourself. So and of course it suits well with a lot of pedophiles. Not all of them, but a lot are attracted by the fact that this is a kid, and they can it's more platonic way, this thing, but they can show their power, and they're a bit more than this kid, and they can manage instead of a normal relationship. But it's not all the case for all pedophiles. But that is one striking thing in one of these horoscopes, and so it's definitely a Neptune thing. Now, I looked also at horoscopes of people who were the victim, and victim sounds so negative. And I surely don't want to show that these people are wow people and angels. No, because they themselves, they do have a mixture of the bad and the good. But it was striking what I saw in these horoscopes. What I saw was the following, especially from this one person that I know. So when I look at the chart of this man who has been abused for as he is from 6 until adulthood. What do I see in the chart? Well, again, I see this Neptune thing going on. I see this person who has a very strong Mars, actually, a very strong bang on the ascendant in Leo. So that's definitely a strong appearance, and it surely is. It's a bit, shoulders like this. It's not like you kind of read in the articles that these are sensitive people or sensitive boys or whatever. Well, not always. This is a side of this person. It's very, very strong. But on the other hand, there is an opposition. So on the descendant of the Sun and Saturn. So this shows, you could rather say, the weak side of this person. The weak side because the ruler of his chart is in not a good position and is conjuncting Saturn, which always shows, it's not horrible to have a Sun conjunct Saturn at all. It can show that this person has a lot of discipline and can work very hard to accomplish what they want. But it surely shows that this person will have challenges when it comes to show who they really are from deep down inside. And that is the case, of course, with this person. It appears on the axis, so it's very strong. And this opposition makes a square with Neptune. So this Mars makes a square with Neptune, and the Sun also makes a square with Neptune, which shows for this person. You can't see, of course, that this person is going to be abused or anything, but you can see that this person is going to attract in his life or her life Neptune on a very challenging way. And it depends on, of course, this person, this soul, what is going to happen to this one. A very little thing that I want to add is Chiron. Not all people with Chiron, with a strong Chiron, that is, they have abuse in their life or anything like that. It's nothing like that. But in this case, I also saw that the ruler of his 5th house, which is the house of sexuality, was conjuncting with Chiron in the 8th house, the house of intimacy. So that is a little, this is not about Chiron obviously, but just a little thing that shows that Chiron, who is associated with wounds and painful situations, you know, it has a role in this. It surely has. But as I said, it's about Neptune. And the thing is, that strikes my eye, is that both these horoscopes seem to be, in a very strange way, they seem to be in tune. They seem to be how do you call that, a sender and a receiver. You know, there's this thing that they click in a very strange way, of course. And this is very important to understand, especially for the case of this person who has had these difficulties in his life. He said that to me. It's very difficult to understand that there is an intertwining or something. You know, this relationship is almost symbiotic. So it's very hard to step out of it. Actually, he's now at his end 40s and he's still struggling. He's still struggling in his life with all that. Of course, when I ask him the question, how does he see this and how does he live with this, he says two things. First of all, he says, well, it's very strange that even at his age now, his end 40s, that he can, this makes such an unstable emotional life, of course. So he says it's very much about trying to find that stable equilibrium almost, because a very tiny little thing can make the association of the shame and of all the things that he had to go through as a little kid. And I asked him, give me an example, and he said, well, lately he went to shopping and to go to buy bread, and before him there was this little boy. It was this little boy of 9 years old, 10 years old, who was just ordering a bread. And he said, I totally lost it. I had to go away because there was so much anger in me towards that little kid. There was so much jealousy in me towards that little kid. And I'm a bit slow at empathy at times, so I thought, why? He said, well, very simple, because this kid seems to have a normal life. This kid, you know, I didn't got this normal life. And this creates enormous anger, and it's very difficult to put this in a very constructive way in your life. Let's put it that way. So yes, these people who have gone through all this will, you know, it's a challenge for a lifetime. They have to get back their bodies, their minds, and their souls, and it surely takes a lifetime to do that. But and that's the other interesting thing that he said to me, because I asked him, you know, how on a philosophical way, but also on a spiritual way, how do you give this a place in your life? And he says, well, actually it's very simple. It's very simple, the goal, but in practice it's very difficult. And I asked, what is so very simple about it? He said, well, the trick is, the only advice I would give to other people, he said, is to not to become like him. And of course, he didn't mean to say not to become a pedophile. He didn't mean that. He meant to not to become a deceiver. I asked again some explanations, and he said, well, it's so easy because you have lived through this and you have seen all the tricks of this man, so it's very easy to use them themselves. He said, really, it is so easy to deceive other people. It is so easy nowadays, probably long time ago as well, to deceive people. It's almost in his nature as well. And if you look more globally or on a collective level, you see it, don't you? That it's very easy to deceive other people. If we look at our politicians or whatever, anything in life, it's so easy. But he says it's so hard to, you know, pick the other road. And that is my job, he said. That is my job, to be aware every day more and more that I don't want to be that deceiver in nothing. Not in my relationship, not in my love relationship with work, relationship with neighbors, not in anyone, because there's always this temptation of, you know, of the easy road to deceive others, because that's natural to him. He was grown up with this Neptune, this negative Neptune in his life, so he thinks that's the way life is. So I thought, isn't that a good example of starting with a very hard, difficult, challenging Neptune and climbing towards a very spiritual, open, hopeful road to Neptune, because he may not say that he is spiritual, but actually he's doing a pretty good job, I think, with trying to be a better person and trying to connect with, he wouldn't say God, or he wouldn't say the universe, he would simply say my higher self. You know, I'll try to connect with that every day, and that is my job. So that is this little story. I wanted to, well, a little heavy story, I guess. I hope not too heavy. That I wanted to tell about Neptune. That there are possibilities to get. Oh, and there was another thing he said that was also very important, because of course these two persons, you know, the one who does it and the other one who is a victim, both those persons have self-worth of that is very low. And he said that actually now he was starting to get somewhere, and that he said, really, it's incredible how strong I'm actually, how strong I am, because every day that I survive with an emotional stable day, with not, you know, getting very angry when you see a little kid having fun or something like that, or other things that remind me of that situation, if you can pick that road, you know, the good road, not the road to the wrong Neptune, if you can do that, then you suddenly realize, my goodness, how amazingly strong that we are. We think we're not, but actually we are. He said that it was a very funny realization. It's a slow process, but it's a process. And on that note, I really want to say that thank you for listening to this story, and I hope that I brought some knowledge about this planet, and I also brought some knowledge about this on a spiritual level, what we can do when something like this happens in your life. Thank you, and see you soon.